have no idea where this will lead us, but I have a definite feeling it will be a place both wonderful and strange.
Welcome back, everyone, to the wonderful and strange Twin Peaks Logcast. I am one of your two hosts, Kalil, and with me today, as always, is the diet lasagna to my church potluck.
SOS, I need help. This is the Unplugged Professor, still being subjected to this.
Today we watched episode...
Wait, did you introduce yourself?
Yes, I did.
Oh, yeah. It's Kalil.
It's called Listening to Your Partner. Anyway.
Never.
So today we're looking at episode 4 of Twin Peaks Season 1, The One-Armed Man.
Oh, neat.
Neat. I'll go ahead and start. I got a list here of like 16 things. I was surprised how much I actually found to note in this episode.
I was surprised that there were so many two-armed people in this one-armed man episode.
Yes. Well, a one-armed man's singular. So that was to be expected that there'd only be one-armed man.
Yeah.
It was not one-armed men.
I mean, I'd watch it.
Okay. So, not really a particular order, but I think we should start with a fun one. That will never have a natural segue.
We'll never have a fun one. We'll never have a natural segue. So just say it.
Just say it.
We're still heading there.
We're gonna now. See, now I want to take my
You're
time.
Almost there.
So there was a remark that happened with the Log Lady intro where she said that the battle is nigh, that we're going to have a fight soon. And
yeah.
we try to save our commentary for the pod, but a little bit of humor leaked in. Mm-hmm. So that made you and thus in turn me think this is some weird Avengers Endgame scenario where all the forces of Twin Peaks are going to be dueling to the death. Mm-hmm. I want to know who would the 3 people you would take into combat with you
that's
from
also,
Twin Peaks.
That's also kind of not what happens with that, because like in the Avengers
I don't watch Avengers movies. I've seen the original Iron Man.
It's just like one entity, so if they all want to just fight Laura Palmer, who has the Infinity Gauntlet.
Okay, it's Smash Brothers.
Okay, that's better.
Okay.
Log Lady.
Log Lady?
She has a log.
Yeah. Go on.
Yeah, no.
You have 3 people. The log can count as 1 if you want to make that 2.
Yeah, 2. And then I'm probably going to go with Cooper, because he is able to shoot twice in the eyes and once in each nostril.
Okay. As I indicated before when we talked, I'm going to pick Nadine as my first pick. We've seen what she can do to exercise equipment. Imagine that exercise equipment was your face. Bada bing, bada Nadine.
That's why I got the log.
And then my second pick is Snake. He's always there in the clutch. We've seen that he can drive under the influence, and he's really good at that. Imagine if he wasn't drunk, he could drive that car straight into you. He's a bro. He's reliable. We haven't seen him in like 3 episodes. I'm sure he's still alive. He's fine.
Yeah, he's just probably chilling with Bernie.
And then I'm going to pick good old Leo. We've seen that he can, make clean work of someone with some soap. So I trust Leo with the soap and the sock. He'll get the job done. He took care of Bernie. He'll take care of you.
Has something happened with Leo and soap?
Remember the soap in the sock and he did the swinging and then...
Yeah.
And we try to block out domestic violence from our memory, I guess.
No, because now I got something else in my head, because, last episode, there was soap residue.
Oh, yeah. Cool. So that was my my first very important note. I just didn't think we'd somehow get to that naturally in conversation.
It's fine, but now I'm freaking out, so I think that we're good.
So what do you got for me?
Oh, well, I suppose that since we have a little bit of Leo here, let's go into some Leo action.
Yeah.
We see that Leo has a new friend this episode. Last episode.
Fear?
That
anger?
Too. So
drug abuse?
So jumping off from the previous episode, Leo was going to go with Jock to try to jump over the border and just work a few things out, since Bernie was kind of caught up with a little bit of quality time with Cooper and the gang.
Man, let's just take a moment to appreciate and reflect upon Bernie and really be sad that we lost our greatest character in Twin Peaks so soon.
He had so much potential.
He delivered at least 10 words.
And he probably kept the Roadhouse very, very clean.
I think he was innocent. I'm a defender of Bernie here.
Oh, yeah, no,
This is not a political endorsement, by the way, if you're listening to this in the year of election cycles. We are not officially endorsing Bernie. we are endorsing Bernie from Twin Peaks.
Yes.
That's the only
Bernard.
Bernie.
We are endorsing
Bernard
Bernard.
Renault.
Yep.
Bernard Renault.
Yep.
So, Leo, how are you feeling about Leo? He's a good guy, right?
Well, no. Leo seems just all the more suspicious as we just kind of like keep moving forward with absolutely everything.
I mean, we did see him with the most respectable person in the town, Benjamin Horn. So that adds some secondhand credibility, I think. And Benjamin Horn was trying to dose some, like, good, positive business advice to the man.
Yeah, in the middle of the woods, in the middle of the night, you know.
Hey, what better place than the present?
Passing off some money to him, just saying, like, hey, could you take care of this arson for me?
You know, let's think about Leo. He's a trustworthy guy. You ask him to do something, you pay him, he'll get the job done.
So the fact is...
It's hard to find good help these days.
So the fact is that Leo kind of recognizes himself as a small fish while Horn is a larger fish in the respects of financially.
Well, they're an odd couple, too, because I don't think they would get along outside this very specific arrangement.
I don't know enough about Ben to say otherwise with
The
that.
guy who quotes Shakespeare as he's trying to seduce women, I don't know. They're very different styles, let's put it that way.
Very.
Then again, it gets for Coop and Truman, very different styles, so maybe I'm wrong.
You know, I trust a man who tubs himself with Elvis. But no, with...
I love the little Elvis thing, by the way.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
With Leo, it's hard to just kind of like look at him and just say, you know, maybe Leo Johnson will have a redemption arc. Maybe something.
You're not thinking
will
it's going to
change.
happen? Well, we did get some interesting, potential foreshadowing. Leo has said earlier that he needs a new pair of shoes. I'm going to keep bringing this up every episode if I can find a way. And we found out that Philip Gerard, the one-armed man, sells shoes. He said, and he basically implied in this economy, everybody needs shoes.
He does ship on demand, but he only has the right size shoe.
So do you think Leo Johnson might in fact get new shoes soon?
No.
But all the signs are indicating there's a need in the market. There's a supplier in the market. Now you just need to have the transaction occur.
I don't think that's going to get to him fast enough to ship to him. I don't think Leo's going to... I have this
Leo's
sense,
a truck driver. He could go pick the shoes up on his journeys.
I have just the worst sensation that everyone is going to die in Twin Peaks. I have multiple people who are on a hit list.
Okay, who's not... Is there anyone you think is not going to die? They have the best chance of survival.
I'll admit it's a bit of hyperbole, just because there are just some people that are just blaring red marks. Leo, if he gets away with what he is going to do, that's going to be strange for the next, season or two of Twin Peaks. So that far of knowledge with me is just like having a sensation of, okay, something's got to happen with Leo.
So is there any, again, my question still stands. You have a death flag on a few characters.
Yeah.
Is there any people you think, this character is going to last to the end?
Lucy.
Lucy will last to the end.
Yep.
Okay?
Mainly because she has been the very fantastic and kind recap individual we've seen in the special menu. So if she dies off, I don't know who else will take up the mantle.
Using that as a source for prediction who's going to live and die like that.
Yeah.
By association, I assume the log lady will also live? She does her intros?
Oh, yeah, she does her intro. So, yeah, the log lady will make it, or she will live in this sort of existential Cooper mind space. Mm-hmm. So...
And then doesn't Cooper kind of begin the narration on previously on Twin Peaks? I think he does that part.
Yeah.
So, are we safe to say those are the three most likely characters to not die?
I'm still not convinced on Cooper.
Okay.
Cooper might be switched out with someone else. Maybe Truman might take more of a role at one point.
Okay.
So, not fully convinced. There still are two main individuals that kind of get previewed at the beginning of the episodes.
Okay.
So,
is there anyone else that you feel pretty confident in saying they will make it to the end?
Dr. Jacoby, I feel, will make it to his vacation.
His permanent vacation.
But no,
in the afterlife.
But no, that'll come later unless you want to talk about Jacoby sooner.
There's several branching paths we could take from that. I'm cool to talk about Jacoby.
Okay.
If you were good with Leo.
What more is there to say?
We'll circle around to Shelley and Bobby at some point anyway. So there's always, and then Hank. Leo is weirdly on the peripheral of everything in this episode.
Yeah.
Because even though he doesn't really do a whole lot here, his associations with Jacques tie him directly to what Cooper and Sheriff Truman are doing during the episode.
Yeah.
As well as his interactions then with Shelley and Bobby.
Yeah.
I think the only one he's really not interacting with at all is Audrey, but even then secondhand through her father. So
Yeah.
at this point, Leo is the new Laura Palmer. He is touching the lives of everyone. I'm looking forward to Leo's redemption arc that you just totally said was going to happen, in which he's working Meals on Wheels and is tutoring Johnny. And could you imagine
Don't
him
even
tutoring
get me
Johnny?
started on all of that, okay? Like if
Now,
if
Johnny,
there's-
Leo needs a new pair of shoes, Johnny.
If there is going to be someone who's really close to Laura Palmer, it may very well be Leo, because I still have no trust for that woman.
Okay, we'll get to her as well soon. So Jacoby,
He's a wizard.
How much trust do you have for Jacoby?
I trust wizards.
You do?
Yep.
So
I'm big and
would he be part of your party?
He would be an NPC that the player characters would like.
Okay.
We see him just kind of like playing around with little golf balls, just passing the time before like Cooper gets more into investigation, and Jock Jacoby, in his own words, does a little bit of a hula around some of the information.
Haha.
So, if you don't mind, but I'm going to just kind of point out the fact that he is interested in things like Tibet, but he doesn't go as far as Tibet. He stays at the little bit of the nice little locations outside of Tibet, outside periphery.
Yeah.
of
On your
Tibet,
way to
which
Tibet.
is Twin Peaks. Tibet is Twin Peaks.
I don't understand. He likes Hawaii. That's what he was getting at.
Yeah,
there.
but he doesn't reach all the way to the sensation of Twin Peaks. But as an overall show, we see Dr. Jacoby as usually the last credit. After the initial credits come through, goes blank, then goes into a little bit of the episode, we start to see Dr. Jacoby as a note, showing that he may be an important character, but he isn't necessarily a ever consistent character throughout the series.
That does fit in with the glass bottle situation, where this rock hit the log below the bottle, I believe. It basically, or it hit the glass but didn't break. There was something where it got close but didn't quite actually hit or make the impact.
Exactly, which with him, with his interest in Tibet, but not reaching all the way to there, is nice. Is a nice little addition.
Although,
it's a way of talking around the information, hulaing.
Can I work
around the
through
information.
something with this?
Yeah.
If you remember way back to the one-armed man with the dream, he said through the distance of future past, one chance out between two worlds. There's this magician, he says, that a chance between two worlds, and if you have a magician between two worlds, that could be our Hawaiian magician.
It could be. Literally, like, between the two worlds is likely where Hawaii is.
Which is Twin Peaks / Tibet, and the not Twin Peaks / Tibet, which is Hawaii.
You know, I have my tinfoil hat on, and I think that I'm ready to endorse a little
And I
of
think
that.
if anyone would support or endorse tinfoil hat wearing, it'd be Jacoby. I thought it was really interesting some of the things Jacoby said, his philosophy of the world, where because our first impression of the guy in the pilot, he really doesn't do much in the pilot, but he's like just having his finger up the skirt of the hula girl on his tie, just having a good time with his tie.
Yeah, well, he's talking about Laura Palmer.
Yeah,
yes.
which is not at all concerning.
No.
And then the reaction when Cooper was talking to him, like, "Did you sleep with Laura Palmer?" No. So he's got a little weird attitude.
Let me tell you, no, it was. He asked prior to that if the relation was sexual at all. He danced around with that. The question was not if he ever slept. It was on the night.
Yeah,
with
were you
the three
one of
men.
the three men? He was like, no.
Yeah. So whether or not that is confirmation or
Fair
just
enough.
like him just not. Well, I suppose he's just danced around the issue before. He wasn't answering them straight, but that was a straight answer. So
That was the most straight answer you're going to get out of this guy.
yeah. So it may have just been like Dr. Jacoby was not one of the three men she slept with.
Well, and it's also interesting, too, because the way Jacoby speaks about everything, it seems like he himself might have one of the, among the people who need mental health in Twin Peaks, he might have some of the most damage and problems, the way he talks about his own life. And then he goes on to say there that the problems of our society are entirely of a sexual nature. And he starts praising Laura for doing cocaine. At least she's self-medicated. Now, we here at the Twin Peaks Wonderful and Strange Logcast do not endorse turning to cocaine to solve your problems.
Yeah, ginger. Ginger is the way to go. That is how they do it on the islands, correct?
Correct. Ginger we endorse.
Ginger.
Binge watch as told by Ginger
No.
until your problems go away.
Okay,
It's what I've done,
I-
and it's worked every time.
I was on this boat, now I'm swimming for land, so...
And then he hinted that his own personal investigation, he never really clarifies whether that's into Laura Palmer's murder or something else. He says this personal investigation will be ongoing the rest of his life. So it seems like parallel to Cooper's actual investigation.
Now I'm convinced that he's not going to live for so long, because now I think he's going to die soon. Like, it will go on for the rest of his short life.
And to give evidence of possible death, this is the same guy who the night of the murder was tailing Leo Johnson, heavily implied to be Leo Johnson, only by the similarity of the car, because Jacoby specifies he's following someone that Laura had described to him, and he was following someone in a red Corvette, which we get later confirmation from Cooper questioning Sheriff Truman that Leo Johnson does in fact drive a red Corvette.
And not only that, but Horn even just kind of like points out, like, no, like, Leo, come on, this is an obvious car, like, come on, like, it stands out.
Yes. So it's brought up enough times that it's heavily implied.
Yeah.
It's as implied as you can get without being fully confirmed.
You know, people who cross Leo Johnson, I'm sure there's maybe a couple people who get out of it.
Like Bobby. Natural transition time.
Oh, no. Like, I was so upset with Bobby this episode.
He was doing fine. What do you mean?
Oh, God, no. The thing is that between Bobby and Shelley, I understand the intention with Bobby, but he is making it...
Do you?
Well, yeah, absolutely. Like, he's thinking to himself that he has something on the guy, Leo. He has a connection with Jacques, and effectively he wants to try to sway the investigation to understand these connections. But he is moving evidence from one spot to another in which it doesn't belong. That though it will help law enforcement understand more of a connection, that adds an extra layer of, like, plausible deniability, like, effectively a layer of, like, this is planned evidence from another person. It's like how fencing works. You don't want your fence... You want a fence that is able to, like, buy your stuff and sell it to another person, just so that they have deniability of where the source came from. So Leo has more of an out now, because he didn't leave his shirt inside
That's assuming that they ever catch that it was planted evidence. If they don't catch it was planted, I would argue that Bobby has done so much for the investigation that it might be the best thing he's ever done.
Was Bobby wearing gloves?
Bobby was wearing gloves on the inside.
No. There are multiple layers to this that effectively he may have just made it more likely for Leo to stay out of a frickin' cell.
As long as they don't send it to Albert to test it, it'll be fine.
Not only that, but we have to also consider, what the hell was Shelley planning with the evidence? Like, as soon as Bobby sees it, he's just like, I got an idea. And then
I don't think
like,
she had a plan.
Like, what are you planning on doing? Like, why did she hide it? Like, why did she hide the gun and the evidence?
She knew it could come in handy. And then she just left it for Bobby to... The man's gonna handle it.
What?
For justice.
No, because there's no justice involved. She was just, like, hoarding away his bloody clothes. That apparently his name is stitched into.
So, again, I don't agree. In the sense of... I think it's a bit more nuanced than just saying how stupid they are and how this is a bad thing. Consider it from both Shelley and Bobby's points of view here. They know, for different reasons, that Leo Johnson is the worst person imaginable.
Yeah.
That this man is clearly, like, tied to the worst elements in their town. And unlike someone like Benjamin Horn, who, one, hides it, and then two, has the means and power to strongly dissuade you from doing anything about him. You know, he'll end you. Leo Johnson is someone who theoretically could be taken down. And from their vantage points, Shelley lives with an abuser.
Yeah.
And it's at the point now where she doesn't really know what to do. And clearly, based on her methods of, like, how she got in the first place with Leo and that she got involved with Bobby, her decision-making skills aren't 100%.
But that's the thing, though. I understand empathetically, like, emotionally, I understand where they're coming from. However, when it comes down to court systems, the more hands that lie onto this, the more that
they don't
remove
think
the
of
evidence.
That. They don't have any process of that.
They don't have a process of it. It doesn't stop it making dumb. Ignorance and lack of understanding of a judicial system doesn't make something less dumb.
Okay, so suppose Shelley took the bloody clothes and turned to police, and then Leo finds out that she did that.
If she is able to have some other place to stay, some sort of sense of anonymous program that she could be sent towards when she's feeling in danger, those things exist exist in this timeline. I hope in this world, but I don't know. I know Tibet exists and the Dalai Lama exists. I don't know about those anonymous programs, though. She needs to get out of there physically and literally, as well as, like, legally. But if he moves around and they try to move the pieces enough, unfortunately, that's less conviction onto Leo. Like, there's just a sense of both Shelly and Bobby have now touched these clothes. The shirt has been found at Jacques, but any of those 3 people could be committed for the crime of that blood instead of Leo. Like, he can say, like, it's all over the place. You get a good enough lawyer, and they're gonna say it's all over the place for this. Any of these people could have been involved.
Well, and I think I don't know if it's smarter or dumber for Bobby. Because Shelly's point of view is quite clearly that Leo Johnson's a threat to her life, and she has to do something about him. Mm-hmm. And I understand that. Bobby's is kind of interesting because the way he portrays it to Shelly, he never, like, tells Shelly the truth. He's just like, now, Shelly, this is big, okay? I'm onto something. I think Leo and Jacques are selling drugs. Now, don't ask me how I know this, but I have a reason to believe they're selling it at the school I go to. Wink, wink, just telling you that they sell drugs. I have no part in this, obviously. But as a good citizen and someone who cares about you, Shelly, I'm gonna take care of this. I'm gonna be the good guy here. And so he takes, like, the, chaotic good route, as he do, and he breaks into Jacques' apartment and tampers with evidence and plants the seeds. And progressing let's say, for example, they do catch on to the problem, sure. But by the time that they realize what's going on, they might have already removed Leo and Jacques as threats. And would that not be for the greater good?
No.
I mean, I understand we both approve of Leo and we both support him. But I think even we got to agree that, Leo needs to be put away.
Leo does need to be put away, but there are certain channels, certain things you gotta do.
Like a gun that Shelly would choose as the alternative.
No, we don't even, like, Shelly has a gun, but we don't know where that gun came from. Like, Shelly could have potentially bought that gun on her own. Like, we don't have enough information that that's Leo's gun.
No, I never said it was. I'm just saying that she would use it to kill Leo. Well, if she's capable of shooting him, I don't know, but...
Yeah.
It remains to be seen what she would do with said gun, other than use it as a device to flirt with.
Yep.
In one of the strangest flirtation scenes in the show so far. Between that and Little Elvis, I'm not sure what's a little stranger.
Mm-hmm. Hello, listeners. This is the Unplugged Professor from the future, just checking in. As far as this issue goes, it's very important for us to let you know that we are not here to blame the victim. Being in an abusive relationship and abusive setting is not easy, and in plenty of cases, it's not very simple. As far as the Leo Johnson case goes, they are trying to tamper with the law, which can only aid Leo if things go awry, which is dangerous. So please do not put the law in your own hands if you are going through something like this. If you are inside of an abusive relationship or abusive setting, no, there are places that can help. As far as the domestic violence hotline goes, if you are in one of these horrifying situations, definitely try to give them a ring. You can find it online, or elsewise, here you are, 1-800-799-7233. Again, this is very important for us to make this clear that there is help out there. And if you are going through something like this, I hope that you are able to find the help that you need. Thank you for the little bit of downtime here, listener. And do take care. But as far as fun times with those two are going, let's go into the other fun and probably not abusive relationship.
Ed and Nadine?
No. For this episode, we have Hank, as well as... I literally just wrote down
Norma.
Norma! One day I will know names. Today is not the name.
Generally speaking, every episode we've had so far, you meet at least one new character. Mm-hmm. And you could say we met Gordon Cole, but just not in person over the phone.
Yeah.
And you could say we met Philip Gerard, but we already knew the one-armed man prior. Mm-hmm. So this episode's main new character is Hank Jennings, the husband of Norma Jennings, who's been in prison up to this point, just made parole. He's going to become a beautiful, upstanding member of society, and we got immediately positive vibes. I love how Twin Peaks, has such an optimistic outlook for its characters, that anyone can change, and that Hank Jennings is going to be an effective contributing member of the community.
Boom, 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 boom. No, go on.
And he likes dominoes.
Boom, boom, boom,
Who doesn't like dominoes?
Boom, 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 boom. I'm sorry, I'm just saying that menacing music that always comes around when Hank's about. That I was just, just kind of putting in there for ambiance to show how good of a person he is.
I just kind of like at this point because, okay, thinking of the framing of Hank is really funny to me because you've gotten like clear people like Leo and who's like just this horrible person who's abusive and he kills people without a thought. He's the most like cold-hearted. You've got Benjamin who has like the sort of systemic rich person's evil of like indulgence and also just vice to the point of ruin anyone's life to get what he wants. You've got all these like big time evils. You've got drug runs. You've got all these problems. Hank has got a domino and he's got creepy music and we know he ran over some person on the side of the road at some point. But I love how they've set up so many big forces of evil that I think introducing another one to try to top it, let alone we also have the ominous like Bob Mike situation with the I will kill again. And like, literally we have Laura Palmer's killer on the loose, presumably. And they introduce another evil as if we needed any more. And it's Hank. This guy named Hank with a domino, who, maybe he's the worst of them all, but how do you top all of this? He would have to be somehow worse than, like, Ben and Leo and Bob, just lumping them all into one super evil.
No, apparently, like there's a lot to lace in with Hank, and now with Norma, was it?
Yes.
I have less trust on Meals on Wheels now.
Oh, well, I think he would have an alibi for Laura Palmer insofar as he was in prison.
Yeah.
Well, he couldn't have done anything directly.
He couldn't have done anything directly, but we have learned that Hank and Norma had their affiliations. There was...
Marriage is what they call those affiliations.
So with Unplugged Professor's Conspiracy Corner...
Yes.
There are two instances that just seemed very weird for me, at the very least with line delivery, and that's where Hank, when he sees Norma, he addresses her as just like, how's the business going?
The thing you say to your wife after you haven't seen her in a long time and you're in prison.
And she is the business owner of the Double R, but it seems more so of a poke to the shoulders, like, hey, like, how are things going, really?
And then he, his true intentions by what he says next. Get me out of here. I need to leave prison now, immediately.
He does intend to change.
I'm using you for my own good.
He does intend to change, though.
He has that heart of gold.
There is also the point with Toad later that apparently gives.
Thank you for mentioning Toad's first appearance.
Yep, Toad.
I can cross him off my list now.
First appearance, okay.
This is the first, as far as I know, listener. If you are a more avid Twin Peaks fan than we are, and you have seen the likeness of Toad prior to episode 4, The One-Armed Man, please let us know in the comments, in the emails, in the tweets.
Anyway, with Toad.
Yes.
She implies that it's going towards her retirement fund, but it's less cheeky and sarcastic and just more emphasizes that.
No, I thought it was sarcasm. He didn't give enough tip. Like, thanks, I'll put this in my retirement fund. That's how I interpreted it.
But that's the thing. The emphasis was on retirement fund more than it was like the sense of thanks.
Well, because it's not enough to retire on. It's a joke.
Yeah, it could be a joke. Or it could be for the Meals on Wheels underground business that is selling off, I don't know, maybe the cocaine that's going around the town. I don't know with this anymore.
Do you believe the perfume counter is real, or do you still believe that's not real?
No!
Okay,
It's either not real or it's a front.
So the perfume counter is a not real or front.
For One-Eyed Jacks.
And the Meals on Wheels program, which, if it is real, is presumably actively going to houses and giving food. So there should be evidence of it being real or not.
It should be, yes.
I like the idea that they just go to these like old people who like don't leave their homes, give them food, and then just also give them drugs at the same time.
No, they can they can make other stops.
Yeah.
Trucks don't just go to old people's houses. There can be things in the way of old people's houses.
Yes.
I'm sorry, but anything that Laura Palmer has touched, looked at, smelt, or tasted,
Calm thyself.
I do not trust. I do not trust a single thing with Laura Palmer. I don't even trust her God's damn death.
So Maddie Ferguson, you want to talk about her
Maddie
now?
Ferguson is Laura Palmer.
You heard it first.
So there's this instance that we get Maddie Ferguson inside of here, and we'll go back a little bit.
When we get to Josie,
Hank.
we'll get to
Josie,
Hank.
We'll get to Hank. Don't worry, listener.
Listener singular.
I don't
We're
see-
talking to you specifically. You know who you are.
Well, like,
You know what you're wearing.
Kalil definitely does.
Yeah.
But
Anyway, Maddie Ferguson.
I don't know about anyone who listens to podcasts in groups, though. So I'm
mean,
addressing the singular listener.
It's possible.
It is.
But if you're
okay,
in,
listener
okay.
and or listeners.
If you're in a group right now, I'm talking to you, not the people around you.
Specifically
Okay?
you.
Wink, wink. Nudge, nudge.
Wink back if you know.
Wink back right now. I see it.
You see it.
Okay, go on. Maddie Ferguson.
Maddie
take
Fer-
3.
With James and with his interactions with Maddie.
Yes.
Maddie quickly has a sense of insight. Maybe she just gets it often enough, but she immediately gets the sensation that he is reminded about Laura.
Do I look like Laura Palmer? Smile, smile, smile.
Yeah.
Yes.
She has a way of just kind of looking at him and a sense of insight that I find incredibly suspicious. But she also kind of goes into the sense of, yeah, well, Laura and I are cousins, but she and I just whenever we hung out when we were younger, we would pretend to be sisters.
The real question is, do Maddie's arms go back?
Like she's hiding something.
Maybe.
But no, let's think about it. Two people who look very alike, okay, are
I mean,
related.
literally the same actress, so yes.
Literally the same actress. There's a new lady that is just across the pond that looks just like Laura Palmer, okay, around the time of the death of Laura Palmer, okay, and sure, like, Maddie could come around saying, like, oh no, Laura, the person who was like my sister's died, I'm gonna come visit.
Look, we all have at least one cousin that if we were to die, could entirely replace our whole identity and no one would know any different.
All I'm saying is that whether it's hair dye or wig or something, like, just kind of like jumping across the pond back and forth and claiming to be from Missoula is something that could be pretty possible. Especially when you're trying to escape some sense of identity, trying to maybe get away from these little cocaine things.
Here's what I don't get, though. I don't understand, though.
Yeah.
If Maddie is literally Laura Palmer with a wig or hair dye, how come Leland and Sarah Palmer both know of her and aren't like... Because like, they know that there's a cousin Maddie who looks like this.
Yeah,
They're not saying... You're not Maddie. You're just literally our daughter with a wig.
But that's the thing. Like, she apparently looks a lot like her, and they did see the girl, like, who has died and went into the river, looks just like Laura. If there are two people who look a lot alike, and she just...
So do you think Maddie died? Who's the corpse?
I think Maddie, yeah. I'm
Okay.
convinced that Maddie is the corpse. Like, she switched positions with it. I don't think that there's a lot of good things going on with Laura, so just faking her own death for her own reasons.
Was Maddie in on this, or did Maddie get tricked?
You know, when you die and you're down on the river, I think it's unlikely. But we also learned that Laura Palmer has superpowers also, so I don't know the extent of those. One, she has what seems to be a lot of influence in the town. Two, apparently her mother and her have visions.
Okay, this is off topic for the listeners, and it's really just for our selfish sake. But I'm definitely getting vibes right now with your Maddie Laurie theory of a certain Danganronpa V3 class trial involving two individuals of dubious death. Do you catch what I'm throwing?
I'm catching what you're throwing. But
Okay, thank you. If you're you listener, I'm calling you like a ferret.
if
You know what we're talking about.
if you are-
Wink right now. If you don't know what we're talking about, good, we're moving on anyway.
and if you do know what we're talking about, effectively and are giving that wink, you know we are especially speaking to you.
Yeah, it's absolutely you then. Okay, so Maddie, anything else you want to say about her? Slash Laura, slash doppelganger, slash whatever this is.
Overall, you could... I just feel that there is something funky soap opera going on.
I remember
with
that
Maddie.
time when Truman was talking about the Bookhouse Boys. Coop, there's something in these woods, something funky. Starts immediately disco dancing to the Bee Gees. Coop the Bookhouse Boys have been leading the dance troupe here in Twin Peaks for as long as anyone can remember.
Pulling back the curtain.
The red curtain.
Pulling back the red curtain for just a few moments. Kalil had subjected me to various music artists and just tried to force me into just guessing
to
names,
knowing
music,
culture.
To knowing culture. I got 25% right.
Yes.
Well, could you imitate the sounds of a Bee Gees song, because I don't know what that is.
Staying alive. Ha, 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 ha. Staying alive.
Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry for that.
You're welcome for that.
Okay, so moving back forward.
Back forward.
Moving back forward. I'm going to completely just like overhaul this whole thing and change topics entirely right now.
Okay. It's okay. Laura Palmer is alive.
James and Donna. I don't know.
Boring.
I don't know what your thoughts are on James and Donna. And again, we've kind of reached disagreement. I won't spoil anything to coming up, but I will say things that have already happened.
Yeah.
I think that James and Donna in this moment are the stupidest characters in this town.
Uh-huh.
And I don't even think it's in an... They're like the personification of stereotypes about teenagers. And in the saddest kind of most kind of way. Like the moment where their two are meeting at night, looking for the necklace. And, Donna's like so avid, James, we were the only ones who loved her. The police didn't love her. Only we loved her. And I don't know about you, and this is, again, my bias is maybe coming through. I think of that and I roll my eyes and I'm like, Donna, do you pay attention to the world around you? That, what about her parents? You think her parents didn't care about her? Donna, do you not think, anyone else in this community cared about her when clearly everyone who showed up at the funeral was emotional?
Not as much as her.
But this is where my biases might come in. When Bobby gave his little rant, I actually don't judge him that badly. Yeah. I think he's right. I think he's right to point fingers and say that you all let this happen. So for me, there's a difference between, and this could be my own bias in favor of Bobby and my bias against James and Donna coming through. But when Donna says that we're the only ones that cared about her, I roll my eyes. When Bobby says that you all didn't care enough to save her, I agree with him.
I think both can be in somewhat the same
ballpark. They're similar but different in a way.
Because in the end, what was being said prior with Bobby was that everyone keeps making these larger claims about themselves with Laura, but when it came down to it, she needed help and there was no one around.
Right. And Bobby blames himself for that too. Donna doesn't have that self-awareness.
Yeah, no, a lot of people don't have that sense of awareness. Twin Peaks in general does not have that sense of awareness.
And then my favorite one is right after that. I think it's James, or maybe it's it's James. It says, "This is about us." And I was just I know it's in the context of what they're talking about, but it's everything that's happening, this whole murder of their friend, and they're making it about themselves so very clearly. And this is kind of a segue into something else, but I love then how Audrey's interactions with Donna go in this episode, because I've always kind of thought of it in the past they're teaming up. But when I think about it more now, looking at it, it's no, it's not a mutual teaming up situation. Audrey talks to Donna in the bathroom the way a detective asks a witness. She's getting information out of Donna by teasing the little bit that Audrey knows. And we have a feeling Audrey knows more than she's even letting on. But Audrey gives a little bit of a taste of what she knows to see what Donna will reveal. We see Coop do this all the time where he'll hey, a biker starts a name with J, and then he'll get Bobby to lead them to something. It's the same thing. Audrey wants to know, hey, Donna, do you know if Laura worked at the perfume counter? It'd be interesting to find out, wouldn't it? And do you know about One-Eyed Jacks? Do you know about this? It feels to me like Audrey is just trying to use Donna to further the investigation, and more power to Audrey for doing so. Probably not good to do vigilante justice as a high school student. We don't advocate cocaine or that. We just advocate as told by Ginger. But I would say that Audrey's maneuvers here show that she pays more attention than Donna does.
No, again, she is effectively young Cooper, as I said in the previous episode. I'm just waiting for us to finally get to freaking One-Eyed Jacks, because we had 3 mentions of One-Eyed Jack in this. We are going to have the Audrey, Donna sort of search into the One-Eyed Jack. We have Catherine, who discovered a One-Eyed Jack chip on Benjamin Horn. And we also have that... inside of Laura Palmer's stomach was a piece of plastic with a J on it, which came from a chip.
Laura just keeps eating those,
delicious chips. Delicious chips.
Bobby, can I just have one more chip, please?
Which, by the way, cements the One-Eyed Jack connection, which, oh, look, there's someone who looks just like Laura Palmer. That is at One-Eyed Jack's. That's on the payroll.
When we saw her, were her arms bent back when she was walking and standing?
That much I don't remember.
Let it torture you as you think about whether
But
that was the
metaphorically,
stats.
yes. Metaphorically, yes.
Metaphorically, sure. Going back to the conversation with Donna in the bathroom,
Donna
which
in
on my
the
notes,
bathroom.
which in my notes I just called it smoking in the girls' room. But going back to the conversation, I think Audrey's motives are interesting to look at. She clearly reveals, yes, she's in love with Cooper. That's what she wants. Or I guess I shouldn't say clearly. She alludes to the idea, and then when asked about it directly, she's like, maybe. And as she's talking, she seems fixated on the idea of escaping, the idea of like being whisked away by some mysterious stranger off to some international intrigue. And then she talks about Laura Palmer, and she says, when I think of Laura Palmer in a place like that, I get all shivery. But it's that hot kind of cold, like you've had an ice cube on your skin for like an hour. And it's like, Audrey, you're getting off on this a little too much, I think. I don't know if this is a healthy way to, like, perceive the murder of a classmate. I'm not sure if what Donna's doing is much better, psychologically.
This is a soap opera.
Yes. Well, yes. Speaking of which, natural segue time. I didn't have much to say on it. I think it's, furthering the soap opera connection that they're talking about the necklace of Laura Palmer, and then it directly cuts to Invitation of Love, talking about, like, a necklace is literally on screen right away on the Invitation to Love.
Yeah.
And you wrote down some notes, I know, about Invitation to Love and the plot relevancy of it, so I'll just let you fire away.
Yeah, no, currently, the love... The Invitation to Love one just seems more shaky in this one. We see Chet...
Yes.
With Emerald.
Yes.
In this episode, in which he seems to be a bit more hesitant, if you will. Just very unstable.
Yeah, because Emerald wants him to run away with her, yet he's already married to her sister Jade.
But it's more so from what Lucy is saying, that she is trying to get the new will so that she can destroy it.
Yes, because Lucy is an avid watcher of the soap opera.
No, but that's the thing.
Which means we are Lucy.
That scene right there is a perfect parallel to Old Man Cooper, as well as our dear not Laura Palmer, in a black dress, which she's even wearing the black dress there. This might be a sense that she's maybe leading him on, but it's in secret to sabotage this whole entire investigation.
So the overall intrigue at this point, thematically at least, would be that there's this repeated reference of self-awareness to the fact that Twin Peaks is a soap opera, that the people in the soap opera are watching the soap opera, and if you do go for the idea that you're also connecting it to the dreams, then you also are connecting dreams to television. And this is something I didn't bring up before because I really didn't find a way to bring it up. But when we had been watching the, I think it was episode 2, where it was the rock situation with the Tibet introduction, and he's talking about, do you know where dreams come from? You say, our brain fires off these acetylcholine neurons, and sorry, I'm butchering words, but they fire off these neurons, and it produces images. And why these images, nobody knows. But if you think about the brain producing images for our heads, you could very well metaphorically argue that the television, film, is a means of producing moving images for us. And we, as an audience, are trying to understand why the director or the writers are showing us these particular images, the way we would investigate a case. Now, what you do with all this, I have no idea. And obviously, at this juncture, we're not very far in the show. But it's a thing to consider as we go on. Is there a link between dreams, television, and our reality, and our perceptions, and Tibet, and Toad?
Not to mention, it was also noted that Montana is planning on killing Jared at midnight so that the towers will belong to Emerald and Montana.
And who's from Montana?
Good
Pop
old
quiz
Missoula,
time.
Good old Missoula, Montana.
Missoula, Montana is not from Montana, but Maddie is from Montana.
Missoula is in Montana.
Yes,
So
and
you could
Maddie's
say it's
from
also
Maddie Ferguson is in Missoula, Montana.
Yes, so whatever the towers may be, maybe it's connected to the lumber mill or just Twin Peaks in general, who knows, but that's the problem here. And Montana is planning on killing Jared at midnight. I don't know who the Jared parallel is. We've seen, like, the only real interactions with her were with Laura Palmer's father. We have seen her interact with James, and we also saw, I think she gave, like, some coffee or tea to Truman while they were just kind of sitting down and getting the sketch out from one of Laura's mother's visions of Crazy Bob.
Okay.
So, yeah, so far those three, it might not look so good on whatever the metaphorical midnight is. More people to die.
Okay.
Speaking of people about to die, let's go ahead and talk a little bit on Josie.
Yeah.
So
How soon? How much time do you give Josie?
The next episode, maybe
Next
two
episode, okay.
episodes. Like, because she's kind of like being a little bit hesitant on giving like Truman some information, especially since she's been trying to conduct her own investigation on Catherine and Benjamin.
Mm-hmm.
And she's getting closer and closer in hot water, it would seem.
Yeah.
Hawk and Ben seem to have some sort of connection.
Hawk and Ben?
Oh, not Hawk and Ben. Hank.
Doo-doo-doo. Hank, okay. And Ben, yes. Well, no, we do. How do we have that? We don't have any evidence of that. Hank doesn't have any communications with Ben.
Give me a moment.
Moment given. Hank calls Josie.
Mm-hmm. No, Hank does call Josie.
And Ben talks to Leo.
And doubling back.
No, you are right to some extent. Ben does say when he's talking to Leo, Hank said you are, very reliable or something. So Ben heard from Hank about Leo.
Yes.
That's the amount of connection we know about.
Yes.
So you're right, but how far that goes, we don't know.
It seems like Hank is like mildly connected into this situation, or just a situation, because of the little interesting note that she receives from him. Mm-hmm. Being a nice little...
It was a nice sketch.
It was a nice little domino.
Any significance in your mind about the domino or the 3-3 domino in particular?
No significance on the numbers necessarily, just more so the fact that there is a domino-faced individual.
So what my brain goes to, the most obvious thing is that it's the same on both sides, meaning it's like a double, it's a twin.
Yeah.
Right? The idea of recurring doubles is obviously kind of a theme we're developing to some extent.
And it's a line going forward in which it has to peak at somewhere. Twin Peaks.
Well, and then also if it's 3 and 3, can we argue that there's 3 on each side? So what could that be? So there's a few conflicts right now. The most obvious conflict would be the one over the mill.
Yeah.
So that's Josie's side and Catherine's side, correct? Yeah. So if Catherine and Ben and Leo are on one die, would you not think? Because Leo is being hired.
No, that seems... I'm willing to take that.
That makes the most sense to me.
Yeah. Then
Josie's got Pete? Maybe? She's clearly like... I mean, he wants to make her his fishing pal. That's about as close... Well, she's also got the sheriff.
I'm on that sense of the spinoff, so
And then she's also got Hank? We don't really know what that's happening there. Mm. So, Catherine, we could say, has got Ben and Leo. Josie may or may not have Truman or Pete or Leo or Hank. It depends on how we're stacking the die. Yeah. I would say Josie's got Truman as a more clear connection because Truman is law enforcement and Josie's even tried to get his help already.
Yeah.
So Josie's got law enforcement on her side. What's the other piece of that? Is it Leo? Is it Pete? Not Pete, Leo. Is it Hank? Is it Pete? I don't know. I think it's kind of interesting to think about, and I'll let you kind of linger on this. If we assume Pete is the third dot, okay? That means Josie's got 2 and Catherine's got 2. That would make Hank the dividing line that he's sucking on.
Potentially. We are also going on to that sense of, like, he is also transitioning from jail to outside of jail, if you will. Something that seems to be reflectively the same, but there's still this embarking transition. I'm just more so inside the ballpark that, like, 3 is a line shape on a bit of a domino, so there are twin peaks on it. It's like a calling card.
That works entirely.
Like it is just his own calling card, like saying like, hey, you know, that this is where I'm from, but at the same time, you know who you're dealing with when you got the double domino.
Sure. I just think the fact that it's the 3-3 consistently in the letter as well as the one he's holding, I think is interesting to note. I don't think I've heard any theories on the 3-3. I'm sure there's been people talking about it before, but that was my ballpark.
Similar things, and who knows, it might, like, there seems to be more twin things coming up.
Sure.
For Twin Peaks.
Random side note I have while we're kind of talking about Ghostwood. At the diner, kind of prominently in the background, there were signs, or like posters, I should say, where it said, say no to Ghostwood. So whoever is putting them up, I like to believe Toad. Whoever's putting them up at Norma's Diner, there is a say no to Ghostwood movement from the grassroots. I do not know what that means. Well, I mean, I guess I can't say right now we know what that means, because at this point in the show, all we really heard about Ghostwood is that, you know, Ben keeps trying to get the Norwegians or someone in Europe to show up and take up the opportunity of business. So, for whatever reason, there's something about Ghostwood, and knowing before that we've had talks with Truman saying there's some evil in the woods, there's something going on potentially with Ghostwood.
Yeah.
It's also called Ghostwood, which sounds ominous.
No, there's nothing ominous going on in Twin Peaks. Everything's A-okay.
Did you have something else you wanted to go into, or do you want me to just keep segueing?
I would say that, as far as Truman, you said?
As far as anything.
Anything? Well, there's a few other matters. We saw that Andy and Lucy are currently in a conflict.
Yes.
We have...
The main plot of this episode was obviously Andy and Lucy.
Yeah, they're having a hard time that's unknown, and
Waldo, the minor bird, is not the only bird here. There are a couple of lovebirds.
There's also... There's also the matter that they sort the town's pets by personal names.
Which is how I would do it if I ran a business.
It's endearing to say the least, but it has some problems. We also saw that Truman has had a big old outburst on Rosenfield. However deserved you think his temper was, it's up to you. If you're on Team Rosenfield or Team Cooper.
I am always on Team Rosenfeld. Well, no, I'm not. I was on Team Rosenfeld before. Now I think, well, no, he was actually assaulted, though.
He was.
Yeah, I'm on Team Rosenfeld. In a rational world, you can't assault and, like, someone brought in to do an autopsy, part of the FBI. You can't just assault them and nothing happens to you.
Yeah, no,
So, no, I'm on Team Rosenfeld.
But yeah, it seems that, like, Hawk is the only reasonable individual inside the whole entire force. Am I wrong with that?
Back up your explanation. Why?
Well, again, as far as Andy goes, he is very emotional.
Yes.
He does not know how to handle a firearm.
Yes.
He's very clumsy.
Yes.
And Andy is a little sweet cinnamon roll.
Yes.
Lucy is kind of like very absent-minded at times. I don't know if it may have been her. Like, I don't know how much of her job goes into like organizing things or just dealing with her sense of reception. But someone had to have sorted all the town's like pets in names somehow. And I think that Lucy so far is the closest candidate to that. Like, yeah, this is where Bernard, the bulldog, will go because his name is
we know
Bernard.
where Bernard is right now. Leah can tell you all about that.
Yeah. And Truman, again, got his emotions quickly snapped to him with Rosenfield. Like, whether or not you feel it was deserved, it still wasn't exactly the best course of action. Hawk, so far, I don't think it has any negatives on him.
He just occasionally spouts off wisdom.
That's a positive.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, he knows how to shoot his firearm, and he is a very excellent marksman. He spouts out nice bits of wisdom. He high-fives really freaking well.
Yeah, that was a good high five.
You know, it was a good high five in this episode, and it seems like a lot of people just get along with Hawk.
Yeah.
So, when Truman is eventually taken over by Rosenfield and so on, and when everything goes down, do you think Hawk will be able to carry carry Twin Peaks with him?
I mean, I cannot say. I know the future. I have been to the future.
But it's just pretend you're in this present
Pretend
point.
I am not in the future. What was the question again? Will Hawk be able to carry it?
Yeah, will Hawk be able to carry Twin Peaks and all the burdens along with him?
No, he's a simple man. I think Hawk is a man of the people. He's a simple man, but he is only one mortal man. I do not think that he would try to be a Laura Palmer figure who is a Christ uniter.
I definitely trust him more than Laura Palmer. Anyway.
Potato, potato.
Potato, tomato, mayo. I was really certain that mayo was poisoned.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of lingered weirdly on the mayo. I'm not really... That never goes anywhere to my knowledge. Like, that's just kind of a weird lingering.
Yeah, for me, it was just like until the domino came, I thought that was how that they would die. Like, Catherine was just like, I know that they will try to eat mayo behind my back.
Or at least put a lot of laxatives in it or something. Just make Pete have to go to the bathroom a lot.
I know they eat mayo behind my back. It's in the fridge.
We talked about Audrey and Ben both a lot, but not their scenes together. We've talked a bit before about their relationship. So Audrey shows up basically saying that she wants to be Ben's daughter again. She doesn't want to be ashamed of her. And Ben's response, like, are you ashamed of me? And he's like, you're my daughter. Which is clearly an answer to the question. And then she's like, yeah, but, I feel bad about the do-I thing I was doing. How? And then Ben was like, yeah, but you're my daughter. Also, I can't rely on you at all to do anything. You're a terrible daughter. Hint, hint. And then Audrey's like, but yeah, what if I was part of the family business? One day you're gonna die and Johnny can't take over. And do you really trust Jerry? I mean, Jerry's name wasn't brought up, but he's the elephant in the room. And Ben's like,
and also Jerry's the brother. I mean, like, let's just face it.
Probably about the same age.
Chances of, like, death from the both of them as opposed to Audrey are higher.
Right. And so Audrey kind of ingratiates herself. And then she just does this whole little thing where she brings up Laura Palmer. I just saw one of my classmates struck down before she could bloom. And, you see Ben kind of look downcast over that. And I think I mentioned it last time, can't remember. But when we're doing the autopsy scene with, Albert getting slugged, Ben is just kind of like looking into Laura's face in the background for quite a while prior to that. And there's this whole thing earlier where Audrey talked about in the diner with Donna, she asked Donna, did Laura ever mention my dad singing to her? So, like, there's a sense in which, even though it's not yelled at us, we do, if you're paying attention to Ben, you may notice that he does have a connection to Laura Palmer enough that her being brought up has an effect. More, I would argue, I think he cares about her more than Audrey does. So I think that the fact that she brought up Laura was a very decisive, purposeful move to get Ben's heartstrings.
Audrey concerns me in those sort of instances because the strange thing is that I don't know how close her and Donna are, but she still, like, presents, like, information, like, how she feels about Cooper, or at least very vaguely, to specifically Donna.
Yes.
And then there's these points in which she tugs on a few strings with both Cooper as well as good old Ben. What reason would she have, like, to just, like, play around with that idea of this guy who's, like, been going about town and trying to get a little bit more information on Laura Palmer?
Again, it may tie back in the idea of escapism. Or there's a thrill she gets out of it. When I said she's getting off to it too much, I mean that. It seems to me that she is getting a thrill out of this, and she wants something bigger than the life she has here. That's the sense I get.
That's fine, but why is she telling this to Donna? Like,
to get information.
Yeah, to get information, but she's just more so just like saying about her excitement and thrills with it.
I think she's trying to form enough of a partnership, quote unquote, that Donna can feed her information. She's kind of getting the pieces in line that if Audrey's gonna be useful to Cooper, she needs to do well in the investigation. And that means she needs to get some witnesses out there who, hey, Donna, if you hear anything, let me know.
But that means that she's being more blatant honest with Donna, which I don't see the reason
I think she's giving enough honesty so that she can get what she wants. I don't think she's doing it out of any sense of obligation or even a sense of mutual benefit. I think it's that Audrey, and this is my interpretation, I don't think it's fact, but I think that Audrey here wants Donna to give her information so that Audrey can do well in the investigation, and thus she can appeal to Cooper. And also, she personally is having a good time with this. Same way she enjoyed driving out the Norwegians. Because it was fun. I don't think there's any bigger reason for her. I think it's just what she enjoys doing.
So she's just more honest with Donna just because?
Again, you keep saying honest. I don't think that's honest. I think all it is I'll give you a little bit of a breadcrumb trail so you can go on the hunt for me. When you're sending out a hunting dog to go sniff for the prey, you give him a little whiff of that. You give him a little bit of blood. Yeah. And I think that's what she's doing. I don't think she's giving honesty to Donna for the sake of appealing as a friend. I think she's giving honesty, quote unquote, because she's giving just enough to send Donna on her way.
Yeah, but why would that compel Donna in any way? Like, every other interaction, she's trying to compel the others with this bit of information. Why would that information compel Donna for this breadcrumb?
I mean, the thing is, it did. Audrey knew enough that it would work. Because if you notice the way Donna was interacting at the beginning of the episode, she was there in the Palmer household when it was brought up about the image of Bob, as well as the necklace thing, which she then goes to James about. And she does show a clear interest in what happened to Laura Palmer. Mm-hmm. And judging by the way James and her agree this is about us, Donna's internalized this in some way, where that Donna, like Audrey, but for very different reasons, wants the truth on Laura. Mm-hmm. And I think that Audrey recognizes that if anyone in the school, Donna is good to talk to for two reasons. Yeah. One, she has a motive to find out information.
Yeah.
And two, she is someone she can easily control. I don't think Donna is someone who is going to do anything that would put Audrey in jeopardy. Okay. And I think that's the assumption Audrey would work off of. That it's someone she can get information to. And I guess the third reason, Donna has connections. Donna's someone who's close to James, but is also close to the Palmer family. She's literally in the room when the cops are there at the Palmer household. Donna can get information Audrey can't. Mm-hmm. So again, I reject the idea of it being honesty for the sake of anything more than this is how I can get what I want. And to be fair, this is not any different than I think what Ben does sometimes. I think both. Oh, whoa. Hello. I'm not going to elaborate on what just happened. So I think that, just as Ben is willing to kind of use people as resources, I think Audrey's inherited that much from her father. Mm. This is a lot of theory crafting, not a lot of fact, though. You're free to disagree.
I'm not convinced. It's not more so on what she's doing for her solutions, like where she's going for what she needs. It's more so the methods in what she's
So what's your conclusion? What's your thoughts?
My conclusion is not complete yet. It's something that I'm going to have to think about.
Do you have a working hypothesis that's different from mine?
Not at the moment, no. Just questions.
Okay. And then also that was interesting is that, she brings up Laura. Going back to my theory that she is doing what Ben does. She's inherited from him the way to manipulate people a bit. Mm-hmm. What Audrey then does is that she brings up Laura to soften Ben up. Because, it's one thing to appeal and say, I want to be your daughter again. But also bringing in the reference to Laura Palmer that, I just saw a classmate of mine cut down in her bloom. Hint, anything can happen. You lost Laura. What if you lose me? And it's kind of like a second chance here. You can do something with this. And then it has a moment where it very quickly, it's not lingering very long. It has a photograph of Laura Palmer and Audrey, which again, given that they weren't supposedly friends, I don't know how often they had photographs together, but it's not in a frame. It's not like something that's like put up in the office because it's one of Ben's photos of his daughter. It'd also be kind of weird. I mean, I guess Leland works for them, but it's also how likely is it he would just randomly have a photo of his lawyer's daughter? But the thing that's interesting to me is it's not in a frame, meaning it was just recently probably taken out. He has this photo out for some reason.
It could be all sorts of things. It could just be like it's just never been framed. It's just a personal picture that you either keep in something like a wallet, a pocket, or just something from a drawer.
It has value enough that it was out.
Yes, it was out. It's either it had value that was out and just recently looked upon, mm-hmm. or it was being moved to someplace. Who knows?
And it's not like we saw anything else around it to indicate he was cleaning out his room or his office or something.
Yeah, I don't think that he has exercise equipment in Audrey's room. So
isn't that his office?
Right? I think it is still his office. It was framed weird. So
that's what I'm saying is that in his personal office, sitting on the desk with pretty much nothing around it, is a photograph of Laura and his daughter.
If we can't confirm this
which implies, if nothing else, the connection between the two in his mind.
if we can't even confirm like this is his office or if this is a second
It is
office,
his office. It is his office.
Regardless, like with a room with his exercise equipment, this is still someplace where Ben Horn will go, and
Yes.
to have that picture there is odd.
In his sanctuary. So I just thought it was really interesting, I guess, overall, how Audrey's tactics extend to Donna, but as well to her father. In going with my interpretation here, I think her method of being a detective is like Cooper's in some ways, but also she inherited something from her father.
Yeah.
I don't want to dwell on this too much. I did think it was interesting a little bit we got about Cooper's love history, that he basically implied that there was someone he knew, he got close to. He learned from them how to be dedicated, but also it broke his heart. And then soon after he talked about that, he shot the target like 2 bullet shots in each eye and then 1 in each nostril. And just like precise aim. So as he's talking about something very personal that hurt him in the past, he is still steady with the weapon to have such accuracy. I think that says something about Cooper. How you want to interpret that, I'll leave up to you.
As far as it goes, it's either just something that is directly inside of his past that he still has his own Cooper mentality with. We've seen him be over analytical before, and his methods may be strange, but overall they are accurate. So it fits with his overall style. Who this person is, we may never know. We may already know. Who knows? There might be just like somehow this weird like time-space connection with maybe Laura Palmer, maybe not, in the red curtain room. I don't know how many times we're gonna go back to it. So it's interesting to say the least. But do we want to talk anything about the one-armed man? I think
it's funny if we don't.
But no,
We've gone at this point over an hour in, and we've not mentioned beyond that he just exists.
I want to just scrub it a little bit.
Let's scrub the one-armed man.
He has a different candor to him than what we've seen before.
And he goes by the name
Dream.
Philip Gerard. He's a shoe salesman.
He is a shoe salesman. He carries only one side of the shoe on him because he says that they're samples that he's glad to
Things come in pairs.
ship out.
Twins.
They usually come in pairs.
I'm just yelling motifs. Don't mind me.
Yeah, no, don't. It's okay. Usually, yeah.
And then he had mom tattoo on his arm that got removed.
Yeah.
Very emotional about that.
Yeah, what was the tattoo on his arm? It says "Mom" and he broke down. He says that he didn't really know that much about Bob, but he did.
Well, Bob Lydecker, he's his best friend.
Bob Lydecker is his friend, but the Bob that was seen in the picture, he attested to not really being there. But when they did try to visit a veterinarian's office inside of Twin Peaks, they didn't have much information on that man either. So,
and again, the way Twin Peaks does these names, it's totally possible they're just random coincidences. But with a writing team for this show, I really don't buy that very much. So, even when Cooper was talking about the woman in his past who affected him, he didn't give a name. But then you cut to Hawk shortly after talking about love, and he says that the woman he was in love with was this woman first named Diane. And it's like, yeah, it could have just been a name that was chosen at random. But the fact that Diane was the name chosen, how did the writers not think to themselves, isn't there another Diane relevant to Cooper?
nah.
So that's what makes me suspicious that there's so much of this name parallel happening. We're just waiting to meet Chet in the real life, but even just the way in which, Bob and Mike parallel Bobby and Mikey, not Mikey, Bobby and Mike, I was going to add an Y to both. We don't know if there's a connection there, but then also that there's another random Bob. Oh, Bob Lydecker. Yeah, he's best friend. And Cooper said in this episode that anytime there's like two things, he basically said anytime there's a coincidence, you got to look really hard at it. That's a detective method, that you're looking for very bizarre coincidences. And the fact that like Bob Lydecker, who looks apparently nothing like the picture that was drawn by Andy, which I gotta say, Andy did an amazing job with the sketch.
Yeah.
Andy did actually understand the dream. He's a good dream interpreter. He tapped into that sort of emotional side of him that...
Wait, wasn't Hawk taking the
No, it was Andy.
chuckle? Okay.
It was Andy.
Okay.
Andy has that sort of... You'd think Hawk would be the one to tap into the spiritual side, but Andy seems to understand the dream enough to make a very accurate picture, enough that Cooper sees it and is like, yep, that's the one from my dream.
Except the eyes are closer.
So the eyes are closer. But that, again, to be that close, though, based on Sarah Palmer's raving description. But going back to what I was saying, though, is that Bob Lydecker, they showed the picture of Bob that Andy drew, and the person was like, no, that's not him. But even with that being the wrong Bob, presumably, they find out about the minor bird that Jacques Renault has from that place. So Coop's idea that we just got to pursue every random coincidence, Bob here, Bob there, gotta mean something, in our world would be like, okay, no, that's just a coincidence.
Nope.
But in the way this show is constructed, we can't assume that.
Got Bob for Bobbles.
Twins. Was there anything else you had?
Not. I think that's all. I look forward to the next episode, though.
I have one more thing. I wasn't sending off. I was
Okay.
checking with you.
Yeah.
So I have one last thing, and I think it's touched on things you talked about, but I don't know what we have to say about it.
But whoever killed Laura Palmer.
Not that actually.
Okay.
No, this is before that. You're getting ahead of yourselves, young Padawan.
Yeah.
We were watching the Log Lady intro, and she talked about the idea of creatures that look basically like we feel like we've seen them before and they're around us. And she asked, like, when you look in the mirror, what do you see? Is it a dream? Is it a nightmare? And this sort of idea of the reflection of the creature that looks like something you knew. I thought it was really interesting if you use that as a frame of reference watching the episode, what you can do with that. And I don't want to go into it too far, but I do think it's interesting. We talked about the dreams idea before quite a bit with television and such, but you have Maddie walking around as a weird specter. If we're going to talk about reflections and, I think I've seen this before. Maddie's the obvious one where, Maddie seems to be aware of it, and James even, is quite aware of it too. And what's funny then is that James talking to Donna later, he's like, Donna, it's like I still see her sometimes. Like, I think she's really there. It's like, no, duh, you just talked to Maddie. You obviously thought you saw her because she gets that all the time from everyone, she said. But then you also have, what was it? The Philip Gerard, when he's shown the picture of Bob that Andy drew, he doesn't say like, oh, I'd never seen that before. He says, no, I don't know him, but that does look like someone, doesn't it? So there's that sense in which throughout the episode, there's this idea of, this isn't quite what I remember, but it's almost kind of like that. That keeps getting popped up as an idea, and the sort of image of double, or like the image of something lurking beyond normal perception, that there's like a creature side. I don't know how to explain that. When they're in the woods and the owl hoots, I kind of think of that vibe, Mm-hmm. Do you have any clue what I'm talking about?
Vaguely.
Okay, that's cool. That's about I think we're meant to have a vague idea.
Yeah.
So that was my last question. Well, it wasn't a question. It was a statement.
It was more so analysis.
It was a rant. Thank you. So my last question is the one you previewed. Who killed Laura Palmer?
Laura Palmer. Laura
Yeah.
Palmer killed Laura Palmer, who's
Suicide.
actually Maddie.
So Laura Palmer didn't get killed, but Laura Palmer killed Maddie?
Yes.
Okay. That is a better answer than last episode's answer, though. Thank you.
I think it's equal.
Thank you.
I think it's equal.
Did you have any other wise words to conclude with?
If she didn't do it, was probably cocaine. Have a good night, everyone. Be sure to check out our other sources of media. We have a Twitter account under Snake Eye Dreams 1 for our little Twitter handle on top, but otherwise Snake Eye Dreams. We also have a YouTube channel by the name of Snake Eye Dreams.
And you're never going to guess this, but our Gmail account is at Snake Eye Dreams.
Mm-hmm. So go ahead and either give us a little bit of an email, and if you guys are following along with us, checking out it, why don't you tell us how cocaine killed Laura Palmer?
Thank you. Don't do drugs. Bye.